many areas within money, in finance, where trust is so key. Who's helping you invest your money, who's doing all of these the financial team that you build around you. You have to have enormous trust in them. You have to trust yourself a lot to be able to control where things go and what you're doing with your money. Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, and welcome. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host of the Money and You Show. So happy to be here again in the studio at ubngo.com. I have a terrific guest today, and as you know, I'm all about a limit-free life, and the guest today is all about helping many people to create that as well. So I'm going to introduce you to Ilona Lipari. She's a prior Fortune 500 corporate CEO, a B2C and B2B sales expert. She's been featured in Disrupt, New York Weekly, Business Insider, CEO Weekly, The Business News, Famous Times, and is a keynote speaker and author. The digital landscape has disrupted how your clients make purchase decisions. With unprecedented access, buyers are empowered to self-educate and make faster and more informed decisions for the solution of their problems. To be successful in today's market, you need to align with your buyer's behavior and be well-positioned where they're looking to find you online. Have you noticed that traditional tactics no longer reap your expected business results? It's time to modernize your branding, sales, and marketing efforts and embrace the digital age. Ilona helps people with that. She works with organizations looking to modernize their business development efforts. She helps experts and consultants land consumer and corporate clients in an effort to bridge the gap between impact and income. And as a speaker and trainer, organizations have rated her trainings as top-notch based on attendee feedback. She prides herself on delivering inspiring, engaging, actionable, and fun training programs that produce revenue results. In her corporate career, she cut her teeth in sales through cold calling and door-to-door prospecting. She then went on to manage several retail territories, being the top producer in her region. However, it was while leading sales and marketing in her own company that she saw the importance of aligning both sales and marketing to digital strategies for unprecedented revenue growth and impact. Her company's proprietary, proven step-by-step framework has helped clients close millions of dollars in new and existing business. As a digital creative innovator and visionary, her mind is blown by the capabilities that technology now provides us. However, she knows that none of that means anything without emotional intelligence, business acumen, authority positioning, and authentic relationship building. We're all in the business of people. Ilona, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for having me here.
I'm so glad to have you here. There's so much to talk about. So, you help people to grow and build businesses and build what I talk about, which is a limit-free life. Can you kind of describe in your own words what you're hoping to do for people with your work?
Yeah, I love the topic of today's show because I always find that, I've found, at least in my personal and professional journey, that money is a tool. And of course, it gives us freedom. With that freedom, we get to choose and live the life that we really, feels most aligned with us. So that's where my personal journey with kind of overcoming a lot of money mindsets has also began, I should say. I am natively Albanian, and my parents migrated to the U.S., growing me up with the American dream, right? Looking for a professional career, looking to be safe and secure financially, and also looking to, go through that route until I realized that there's more to money and the way that we understand it as a topic that I wasn't given much information around. I feel like I was mostly taught how to be a good employee, but not necessarily how to be financially free. So when I started my journey as an entrepreneur 5 years ago, after I left my corporate position as a regional director, I have found that I've thought of money differently. I've learned a lot about money and this subject, and also using this channel of entrepreneurship is what I now love to do for so many other people, my clients, to be free, to do more good in the world, to live your life's purpose, but also create more impact and align their purpose with their profit. We have traditionally seen how the first one has been true, where a lot of companies have been profit oriented, but not necessarily purpose oriented. So bridging the gap between both and aligning both really does create more freedom and more contribution and fulfillment. And then people, good people with good values that have money can use that to do more good in the world. So that's essentially what I hope people do today.
Thank you. And I know that people who are dedicated to living their purpose, who are out there trying to have an impact and serve people, often have a bit of a conflict with their relationship with money. Something about making money and doing good don't match up. And I understand that. I think I had that same mindset for a while. And so how do you see that, first of all? And if you do, how do you help people? I mean, besides the argument that the more money you make, the more people you can help, that's true, and that's often what we hear. Are there other things that you use in your arsenal to kind of help people develop a new mindset?
Yeah, I think what you said is definitely true. Something I overcame myself, or something I see with a lot of women as well, where what we do naturally or our gifts and expertise we don't necessarily see the value of that, and we have trouble charging money for that. So there's definitely a conflict between that. So in the way I do it, I pretty much help people do this step by step, meet them where they are, and really help them understand what are those activities in their business where not only can they create impact, but also they can create income. Because unless you do both, you can't sustain the growth of your company. You can't sustain what you do day in and day out. You can be happy about contributing only for the sole purpose of doing more good in the world. However, if you want to have something sustainable that is going to justify your lifestyle and also help you do more other things in your life, then you have to also be very mindful of those activities in your business or in your company that are going to also create monetary value. So that's what I really hope people do, hold the focus around building their brand, creating an impact, but also look at those income generating activities that are helping them do both things, so they can, again, work on the most important priorities in their business, but also save time, and that time hopefully can be put towards other priorities that they have in their personal lives.
Yeah, that I really love, because time is really what people are after. Having more freedom and more independence is really about having time to do what you want, whatever that might be. That might be more work, but it's your choice, and we like to feel that we have choices. That's really incredibly important for people. So I love what you're saying, and as you were talking, I'm thinking those purpose-driven entrepreneurs are the ones oftentimes who work so hard, work so much extra time. They have less time in their lives for other things and more time working. And oftentimes it's because to make money, they have to, because there's so much time that they're maybe either just creating for people or giving things away or underpricing themselves. What are you finding there? Because I feel like it's almost the people who want to give the most, it's almost a pathway to burnout in some respects.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think it's challenging if you're in the service-based industry, because we all understand to move away from the model of trading time for money. However, it is very difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs that have a service, and that's the way that they get to create impact, or that's their business model. So understanding again, what is the business model that aligns with you? Are you going to work on more of a high volume, low ticket business model? Are you going to work more on quality, bigger transformation, more low quality and high ticket business model? All these decisions need to be assessed when you are the company founder and the CEO. Because again, that really derives it impacts the rest of your activities. Who is the market that's going to be that you want to provide the transformation for? What is the service that you like to provide? And the results that you get to create. But I think, entrepreneurs need to know that they get to choose their business model. Mm-hmm. If they love to work with people one-to-one, and they want to also free up other time for other activities, then they need to make conscious choices that is the business model they're looking for and aligns with their monthly goals. Because I find that a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially in the online space, don't have the clarity around their business models. They want to maybe necessarily make a certain amount per month, but they don't have, their business model doesn't align with that. They want to make $10,000 a month, let's say, in their business, but they're going after a business model and they're charging, their clients $100 a month. Without the rest of the pieces of their brand build. And that's going to be very challenging, because you need to have a lot of clients in your business always generating so that you get to meet that income goal that you have. So be smart with your business model and strategy. I think it's where everything begins.
Yeah, very interesting. You're bringing up a point that I was just having a discussion actually with my son about this, because he's a little more tuned in with people who have great brands and are obviously he's on TikTok and he's looking at all these people. When you talk about having this brand, are you talking about somebody who has enough people who know who they are, so that it's easier to sell whatever the products or services are? Or are you talking about something else, like people just understanding their credibility, or what is behind the branding conversation?
Yeah, I think it's a few pieces, but I think the most important factor is trust. How many people do you have in your network, whether that's your virtual network or your live network, or wherever is it that you hang out, that trust you? So I think that's kind of how I would measure your brand influence and the brand impact that you have out there. When you're just starting on your business, obviously, maybe some of that might be your friends and family. We all start there. And then as your circle of influence expands and you work intentionally to build a know, like, and trust, then that's how your brand starts to become bigger and starts to reach more people. So that's what I mean by brand building. And of course, there's many components to that. That could be its own topic. But I would say the know, like, and trust that you've already built with those networks of relationships that you can rely upon, that when you introduce your offer or the solution to the problem that you want to solve, they already have that trust with you. So they'll be the first people that are going to find that beneficial firsthand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you brought that up. It's actually, when I think about it, I always talk about your money relationship. Well, there's so many areas within money, in finance, where trust is so key. Who's helping you invest your money, who's doing all of these the financial team that you build around you. You have to have enormous trust in them. You have to trust yourself a lot to be able to control where things go and what you're doing with your money. And so how do you, I think trust is a fascinating conversation to have, actually. So can you go a little deeper into just, so you're building this brand. Sometimes I feel like not you, but we, all of us, are using terms too that, like you mentioned, trading time for money. That's an obvious thing that I understand because I talk about it all the time and you talk about it all the time. But what about, that it's a concept that not everybody might understand, because a lot of people do feel like that's the only way they can do it. I'm a copywriter. I write for an hour and you pay me for an hour. I mean, how do you explain that a little bit better? And then I want to move back to the trust conversation.
Yeah, it's identifying the channel of the result that you're trying to deliver. So if you are a freelancer and I don't know, you're offering copywriting services, maybe there is a way, depending on your framework and your process of how you actually give the result on the transformation, maybe there's a way to automate that. Maybe there's a way to maybe just offer the entire process to get people from A to Z. And then the rest of the pieces, maybe you built in more support, or maybe you built in a retainer business model, right? There's a million ways that you can remove yourself from the business. But this actually becomes a problem when you want to scale. Because sometimes I think there's definitely a lot of confusion around the life cycle of your business, especially in the online space. When you are at full capacity, then you can worry about that problem, I should say, right? Because a lot of the times, we just look at different offers and look at different business models, and most entrepreneurs don't even know the rationale behind why they choose to do what they do. They just find that, oh, well, Alona is doing that. She's offering, I don't know, membership, or she's offering like a hybrid model, or she's offering a group coaching program, or she's doing private coaching, or whatever is it that she's doing, right? Let's just say on that example, they just copy and paste that business model without, again, having the clarity on their own. Where is it that they are in their life cycle, and what is their situation like? If they're looking to go to full capacity with their clients, they don't have a problem to scale. So you don't focus on that. Mm-hmm. You focus on that problem when you reach that level, when you have enough volume of people and you're running out of capacity, and now you're looking to scale. Mm-hmm. Because that's usually the process of growth for every company. You want to be able to grow your company so that it becomes an asset, so that it's scalable without you one day. Mm-hmm. That's how you know you really have built a sustainable company that's an asset. Mm-hmm. And you can, again, then use it as an investment vehicle if maybe later on you like to, you move on and you want to do other things with your company. But that's how investors assess companies. They want to ensure that if you are removed as the business owner out of your company can still operate and do just that, create impact with the purpose, but also ensure that it's making profits and it's sustainable and it's healthy on both spectrums. So I would say, depending on your life cycle of your business, just like human life, you need to know where you are and what is the right focus to be, focusing on. But you need to be at a certain stage and phase to really worry about other, the scalability aspect of things. Mm-hmm. If you are just in the beginning and you love the one-to-one business model and you still have capacity for more clients, you can serve those clients at the highest level. And I know many people that are very happy with that. And they're, charging a good money of an investment for their services, but they're also providing amazing transformations, and they like that one-to-one touch, high touch with their clients. So again, I think it depends on where you are in your business and what you're trying to create. I think that clarity is very powerful.
Yeah, I think what you just said was very powerful, because I think we do get ahead of ourselves. We get ahead of ourselves with money. I was just having this conversation about money too, like starting to think about buying real estate before you have even the foundational things like an emergency fund set up or something like that. Mm-hmm. And what you're saying is really true. I think oftentimes business owners, in their mind, they are thinking about scaling at a point where they're still sort of, they can't really, they haven't built it out to a point where they are at capacity, like you were saying. So I think that's an excellent point. And sometimes it's hard to if scaling is your goal, if building this asset is your goal, then I think it's very important to have someone like a coach on your team kind of helping you to navigate that, because you can get it. You don't always see things exactly as they are when you're in it.
Yeah, and you also don't know where you're going and what is the predictable stages, because if you have never built a business at that phase and stage or level, then how would you know what scaling looks like, right? So someone can guide you and be like, okay, right now you're over here. These are the activities to focus on, and let's align that with your vision that for scalability, for so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. So having both working with each other I think it's very important as well, and the person has clarity on what are the right steps to take in consideration. Because again, I see a lot of confusion around this out there, and that's why business are not successful. You just have different problems in different phases and stages of your business growth.
That's
and sometimes, because the education is not there, the awareness is not there, we're solving for a problem that could be solved 5 years down the line right now, because we think that's the most pressing and urgent thing. But it's like you skipped a lot of steps. It's almost like a puzzle piece, seems like, when you don't know the journey of business growth. That's why there's experts in every field. So align yourself with someone that understands that the business cycle of any business and can get you from point A to point Z, just like anything.
Yeah, very interesting. So if we circle back to the trust conversation, how can a person use their branding to create trust? It's the digital world has gotten busier and more complicated, and I personally find myself being less trusting of all what I see out there. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I love that trust is in the core or the forefront of every human relationship. Just think of service. I mean, how do we build trust with our personal relationships? Time, service, be there for people, offer help, contribute, build community. That's big for anything that we do, especially in the online spaces that we're operating in. But just be of service. Think of ways that you can help. Think of ways that you can add value with whatever is it that you are doing. And again, you are building the reciprocity process, right? So the more you give, the more people, again, want to give you back. But be the one that gives first. Be the one that is generous with your offers and your brands. I'm not saying your paid offers, but maybe your content, the resources that you're building, or the other things that you can create, maybe launches, workshops, opportunities for people to get a taste for what is it that you do and solve small problems, quick wins, so people build that trust and can see that you are the real deal, and now what you have is valuable, and you actually led with value rather than leading with sales. I think that's the biggest difference, Michelle, between being a product provider or a service provider and someone that has built a brand. Someone that's selling and is just in that short-term transactional value in business is just that. It's going to be just short-term, and it's going to have that agenda in their mind to just sell. That's not going to be sustainable. But when you build a brand, you're building a community, you're aligning people towards a certain cause, a vision, a mission. It's bigger than just I'm here to just sell you my products or my services. It's always bigger than that business model. It's regarding the bigger impact that you get to create, the bigger service, the message that aligns with the right people that you want to serve. So if you want anything, to sustain, and you want your company to be profitable 10, 20, 30 years, and kind of comparing yourself with some of these big brands that have been around and love and trust and like and trust, they're here for that bigger vision and mission. It's not only about the next offer, because your offers could change, your market changes, we're evolving as humans, your business could have changed, but the offer and the service and the trust that you have built, that could never go away. And now you have loyal fans that are there because they are getting value from you. I mean, that's the only way, that's the only reason why we build relationships, because it's a give and take, right? Or I always say give first, then you put yourself in that process of getting there, taking back. But it has to be that kind of mindset and that kind of relationship. And look at people, when you build a brand, you want to think of relationships for life. Don't look at people as numbers. Don't look at things as short term, on those relationships just serving you short term. Think of how can you keep adding value to this person long term and for life. And you will always be a brand that's always growing, and it's always creating an impact. And once you have that trust, tomorrow your business model changes, but people still know, like, and trust you, and they will come, and that will create sales for you any day.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because despite the whole digital landscape and all the technological advances, really building your business still comes down to relationships, trust, community, the things that we were doing before we ever had any of the technology. So just differently. Yeah, really, really interesting. I think it's easy to forget that. I think it's easy for people to look at business today and think they can sit behind a computer and it can be very passive and, but none of that seems to work very well. When I hear you talking and I think about the audience listening, I'm wondering if people are thinking, wow, building a brand, I wanted to help people with X, Y, and Z. I didn't want to build a brand. That sounds like a full-time job. Like I don't have time to do all that's involved to build a brand. What would you say to that?
Then don't be an entrepreneur. then don't be a business owner. Choose another channel. Because again, if you just want to be a salesperson, then maybe that's the job you want. But if you want to be in business long term, that's the only thing you have, because there's other people doing what you do. There's, a lot of noise out there, right? So the only thing that's going to make you stand out is pretty much building a brand. So, yeah, I mean, it's harsh, but it's the truth. And then, you're just going to be that person that comes in today and then goes tomorrow. You just have a position. You're a salesperson. You're not, you're not an entrepreneur. You're not a company founder. And you're not bringing other people around you. Even if you want to stay as a solopreneur, you still have to build that brand, because brand is all about value. So I would say that's my advice to someone that's just like, I want to build a brand. I don't think there's any other way to go about it, especially with today's landscape. I think all of these things that we have today are just new channels. Business has always been about those basics that you mentioned, Michelle. Always about building trust, always about networking, always about, serving, always about those pillars that you talked about at the beginning. Right now, I think it's a little more confusing because we just have so many more ways to reach people and so many more channels. And sometimes we forget how virtually we get to connect with people, just like we do live, when it's a little more intuitive and natural for most people. But I think it's the same thing. It's just that we are now blessed to be able to go global, and I'm now no longer limited physically to just clients that I could get to serve in my area that I reside. Now I get to do it globally. So I think that's the only difference, but I could also see why there's so much more confusion and there's so much more opportunities, and that can create chaos as well. We need to now learn how to manage all these channels and how to put our time towards the right channel and ensure that we're maximizing our time there and getting the results that we're looking for.
Yeah, you hit on a perfect point, and I love the positive take on it. The fact that our audience can now be, worldwide versus in our town. That's a super important thing and a wonderful aspect of technology. But I do love what you just said, because I think that confusion, that feeling that you need to be everywhere all the time, that's a little overwhelming, and it's also expensive. And so for business owners trying to build their brand, do you have anything to say about just how much one should think about spending on building a brand?
Well, organic. There's so many organic ways to build a brand, right? Find ways to add value, whether it's with your content, with your podcast. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to get into the media, right? Use other people's audiences, leverage other people's audiences so that you get to go and add value to their audiences by speaking, by participating in a podcast like this. By just offering help in the communities that you are a part of, especially these online communities, add value, build genuine relationships. So I would say there's so many organic ways to build brand, or even strategic partnerships, right? With collaboration or collaborators, finding ways to add value to people. Maybe they do what you do, but take a different angle to it, complementary services, all these other ways are definitely high-level strategies that you can leverage without even putting a cent into any of your paid marketing or social media marketing or ads or other things that you could get to do. But honestly, frankly, there's so many organic ways to build brand that, I mean, obviously, if you have the money, then of course you want to trade in, to put in that money to do this faster, obviously. But if you are not at that level where you have enough to invest in doing this faster, as far as ROI on your investments, paid ads, and all of these other marketing strategies, then of course you can do it for free, all organic, word of mouth. You should get to do it bigger scale with all the social media platforms and all these channels.
Love that. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great answer. So you were talking about profitability and getting to a point where your business is more profitable. And what are some of the things that you see? Because initially, business owners aren't so focused on profit, is what I found. They're more focused on revenue. They're more focused on, getting clients, building that revenue. So how, at what point does profit become the conversation that you're having with people?
Yeah, I would say day one.
Perfect.
It should be just like anything. Again, you can have a lot of sales, but if your expenses are, bigger than your sales, like simple math, right? You're just not going to be profitable, and you're just going to be putting more money in the business, right? And you're not going to come out with that. And eventually you're going to run out of cash flow. That's actually the biggest problem businesses have, because I work with big corporations as well, and I see the same issue, right? So again, it's not about your how much sales you make. It's about how much of that you get to take away for that to, again, if you are at those beginning phases, or even when your business is a couple of years old, then how are you getting that cash flow that you are producing from your sales, from your revenue minus your expenses, that you get to put back, to pay yourself. First of all, I don't think enough business owners pay themselves first, and then use that money to reinvest back in the business. Do you need to hire somebody? Do you need to invest in a system that you need to implement that's going to automate some things for you to give you more time and increase your productivity, right? So after you make those decisions, depending on where you are and looking at your numbers very closely, then you know that you can use that money for taxes and other things that are needed. But if you're just focusing on sales and you're not watching all these other numbers in your business, your expenses, then of course you're eventually going to run out of cash flow, and your business is going to fail, because what's going to happen if you're not mindful of those numbers? But it's very simple math. I mean, it's just, again, revenue minus expenses, and that's how you know if your cash flow is healthy or not. Or if it's not, then you can make those strategic decisions quarter by quarter, so that you really focus on those right priorities to help give you really healthy cash flow. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Cash flow is really the key. And I think oftentimes it's something that people look at later, oftentimes when they have to look at it because they're having a cash flow issue. And I think when you start a business, you're excited about the idea, you're excited about the service you're going to provide, you're excited about actually investing in your business. So you spend a lot of money maybe up front and you get things rolling. And sometimes you're good with, I'm reinvesting or doing all of that, and your cash flow is very limited. There comes a point, well, like you say, really should be from the start. But for people who are not looking at it at the start, it's easy for that train to just keep running down the track, and it's 5-10 years later, and then you're starting to consider cash flow. So again, any advice for people who are going to say, but I have to invest, I have to put money into my business, to get it started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I say we actually came to the same point that I wanted to make about having an investor's mindset, that I've also learned to kind of switch from employee to entrepreneur, which is, I think it's very helpful in kind of being an entrepreneur and growing your company and investing back in the company, because it's just like anything. For the company to grow, we got to invest back in the company. But I would say be mindful of where you are. Have you paid yourself first? Have you put away enough for your taxes? And then looking at all these other things, your expenses, your day-to-day operating expenses, which are recurring or fixed every month. So looking at all these buckets in your business that you have clarity around, making sure those are taken care of. And then you have that other priority of, okay, if I have this much money or cash flow that's left. Now, what is the next best thing that I get to invest in the business? Do I need to hire someone? Do I need to, again, look at invest in marketing? Do I need to invest in another area of the company that's going to give me an ROI based on the area of focus that I'm focusing in right now? I would say that once you have that clarity and those buckets are very clear and those things are taken care of, then you can look at what are some other things that I'm going to need to invest so that I get that return on investment. And also I'm focusing on my priorities and goals for my quarter or my 6 months goals or for my yearly revenue goals or projections.
Thank you. That was perfect because you drove home the point that you have to get to know your money. You have to be paying attention to it from day one, and that relationship has to develop along with everything else in your business. And it's so easy for a lot of people to avoid looking at money because that is the thing that is going to, possibly make you feel bad or just give you worry or whatever it is. And so people tend to just think, I'll look at all that later. And that's not how you build a relationship, by avoiding it. So I love what you said about getting the clarity, figuring out the buckets and paying attention all the time. And it sounds maybe kind of like a burden, but it's actually freeing. And maybe you can elaborate a little on that, because knowing your money and understanding all of the things that you were just talking about, that's what gives you freedom. Being in like La La Land and having it all be a mystery is actually very stressful.
Yeah, I would exactly. I would say that, well, listen, I understand because I came from that. I had a lot of money stories, a lot of, money anxiety as I grew up because there was a lot of lack of money in my family. So I understand for someone to have that need to kind of just avoid the issue until I have to deal with it or until something hits me and then I have to actually take a look at it. It just seems like, obviously easier, but easier for when? It's easier for the short term, kind of putting out that quick fire, but in the long term is going to come to bite you somewhere else. So kind of having that, I guess, that bigger pain in mind, at least kind of gives you some of that, I guess, kick or push or admirate or I guess motivation just at the beginning until this becomes a habit. I think everything is a habit at the end of the day, because once you keep doing it, and it could be 5 seconds, you can take a look at your numbers like for 10 minutes at the end of the week, or maybe just put a task on your calendar to take a look at your numbers every month, right? Something small like that is going to pay dividends down the line. But honestly, if you're not doing that, then you're just making decisions in the dark. Because, how do you know how much you can actually invest in, I don't know, in a consultant that can come in and help you to grow your company? How do you know how much you can actually invest in your marketing? How do you know whether you can maybe afford that car, your personal car that you want to bring in your personal life as well, right? If obviously your business is the main income generator for you, we're talking about that because you can have other revenues of income. But yeah, I mean, unless you have that clarity, then you don't really know what is the right decision to make, and you're not going to make conscious choices. Right. And if you're not conscious about your choices, then again, you just, blindly just making random decisions, and you're just hoping that, everything is okay. But just kind of like closing your eyes and just pretending this area is not, important is in the long-term health of your personal life and company life is just not going to help you. And yes, there's support. Get an accountant, get a bookkeeper. There's so many supportive roles that could really help you with that. But yeah, I would say looking at your numbers and making that a habit in your business is, it might seem a little hard at the beginning because of those stories that you might have. Maybe get some, emotional support or mindset support at the beginning to help you kind of alleviate some of that and kind of have you change some of those personal stories. But once you do it and you realize that, oh my God, this is actually giving me a lot of great return on my time that I'm putting in to really become aware of this area, you'll see the impact and you'll want to continue and be very mindful around this financial health area of your life and business in general.
Yeah, thank you. You nailed it with that. And I think that it is just crucial to start from day one as a business owner, looking at it that way. And I think I love what you said, because you do get an ROI on looking at your money. I mean, that is always a guarantee in my mind, that if you spend time and you know what's going on and you're using the data to make some of these decisions. And that doesn't mean you never invest in something that you don't have cash for. That just means you've got data that you're using to inform these decisions. And it really does come down to decision making, like you said. You want to be able to make the best decisions for your business, because we all make decisions all day, every day in our business. And if we're not doing it consciously, like you mentioned, and in a context of our finances, we're going to go all over the place. We're going to be backtracking and going forward, and then backtracking again. So I want you to leave us with a few, kind of your favorite tips for entrepreneurs, since you're dealing with entrepreneurs. A few things that you think that every entrepreneur should know.
Yeah, I would say as an entrepreneur, love what you do. Ensure that what you're doing is actually aligned to your purpose, to your calling. It's your vocation. It's something that you really believe in, because if not, then yes, you're not going to get you're just not going to have that motivation or inspiration, or that bigger why is not there to go through, the challenging times and the building ahead of time, periods of times of planting before you actually reap the rewards of what you're actually doing. So I say that unless you have that big purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, then the journey is just going to be pointless. It's like, why do you have to do what you're doing unless that bigger why is there? And build for the long term, right? Always think, 5-10 years ahead of time as you are building, and enjoy the process. That's something that I'm always learning. Rather than focus on those big wins or those big, sales goals that you're hitting, or whatever is it that you're focusing on, learn to really enjoy the process of the continuous improvement process that you will go through personally as the business owner, but also the process that your company will go through as it grows and evolves. Because I find that the joy of just being in that day-to-day process of building and repeating and working on new things, while also marrying that with the the consistency that it takes, doing some boring tasks that maybe you're not really that fond of, and eventually you get the money and time to hire someone else to bring on board with. Unless you have that juice and the day-to-day joy of just going through the process, then it's like you were waiting to be happy when you get that big win, when things go your way. It's just not a way to live. It's what I found. So just focus on the process of transformation, whether that is your personal transformation or your company transformation.
Thank you for that. And I will say, building a business, you are focused on the growth of the business, but there's so much personal growth that happens as an entrepreneur. It's kind of unlike anything else. So, Ilona, thank you. That was fantastic. I really got so much out of what you were talking about. I'm sure the audience did. Can you tell people how to connect with you and what you have out there that they could partake of?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully what I share was of service to your audience. That's always my aim with an interview I do, or adding value to any audience. They can find me on my website, ilonaliparicoaching.com, and that's where I have a lot of amazing resources they can find to truly build a legacy company that aligns their purpose with their profits.
Thank you. Fantastic. So you can see Ilona's company on the screen as well. And I sure hope you'll reach out and take advantage of some of the content that she has on her website and get to know her further. She's definitely somebody that you'll want to know if you are a business owner. And audience, thank you so much for being here. We love having you watching the Money and You show every week. And you can find us on all the podcast platforms, on Roku, on the YouTube or the Limit Free Life YouTube channel, and other other places. So you can find me at Michelle at limitfreelife.com, and please go to my website, limitfreelife.com, and sign up for my emails, and I can provide you with information on what I have going on and what Limit Free Life has going on. So I think this was a great show to help you understand how to build a more limit-free life and how to take money into the whole mix with you as your ally and your support, and handle money well so that your business grows more quickly. And I hope you got your wheels spinning on maybe some business ideas, even if you currently have a job, or if you are looking for a transition, or if you're a current business owner. I know you would have gotten a lot out of today's show. So thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week.